Yeah, getting beat down in both spots probably tough.
Get them right back up on the horse.
Like the ones that don't grow up with their parents and they get thrown into a school where they're getting beat down. No, you'd think, man, if you come from a rough home, when you go to school, you don't want it rough there. You just got to sit down and go through the numbers. And with Mojo and I've had the same friends since we were kids. And the reason you can't be a friend to your child is, man, we do dumb things with our friends, like on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? True. So our kids are the next version of us. Just all the doors are shut. So you're literally following yourself through life, the next version, seeing which way you're going to go. And man, you just kind of like, all right, how? And when we say we mess up our kids, it's like, yeah, well, it's the next version of us. So we're kind of, you ain't no telling what's in there because you molded with something else. Like I see something in my kid, I'm like, it's obviously your mother. I don't recognize that. You know what I mean?
Where'd you get that from?
Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. All right. So hey, brother. So your podcast is Order of Man. For our listeners out there that don't know your story and what that's all about, can you dig in a little bit and share some?
Yeah, I started it in 2015. Again, I'll go back. Frankly, it was selfish. Like I just wanted to talk with great men. I wanted to get some insight from them on, how to be a better father or husband, leader in my community, owner of my business. I had a financial planning practice at the time, and I actually did another podcast called Wealth Anatomy, and it was all dedicated towards helping doctors with their finances. And I realized, man, I love the medium of podcasting because we can just have conversations like this, long form conversations, get into the details, really figure some things out. But I realized, man, I didn't want to have that conversation about money anymore. So yeah, I pivoted and shifted gears based on some things I had learned. I went through a pretty rough time with a separation with my wife, and really struggled with that. Blamed her for a lot of years as it being her fault and everything else. And fortunately, we reconciled, and I learned a lot of this stuff that I needed to learn to improve myself. She had things to work on as well, but so did I. I just wasn't willing to look at those things. And it's pretty fascinating when I shifted and I stopped pointing it on her and blaming her and everything else. And I didn't have a dad and the economy this and my boss is an asshole, and started just saying, hey, what can I do? Like, what is it that I can do to fix myself? Yeah, they might have things that need to be worked on, but what can I focus on? And those lessons I started sharing with some buddies in the neighborhood and at church and things like that. And they really resonated, and they kind of shared some things with me. And I thought, man, there's probably more guys dealing with some of these issues than let on. Like they don't talk about it, right? Like we're supposed to put on the face and the persona, like everything's good, everything's figured out. And then if something's wrong, you can't express it. You can't work towards finding a solution. So that's why I started Order of Man in 2015. And I'll tell you, man, from the minute that we launched that podcast, it blew up. It absolutely blew up, which is a testament to how much this is needed and the good I feel like we're doing in society. So it's been a powerful ride over the past 5 years. So here, we're just rocking and rolling now.
Besides me and brother, who are your most memorable podcast men on? I mean, we haven't been on, but we're talking right now.
Of course. Yeah. That just goes without saying. Man, I've had so many good,
because we've shared a few that some of the guys that have been on your podcast have been on our podcast too. There's some that are standouts.
Oh, no doubt. And I actually want to extend the invite for you guys to come on the show as well. So we'll talk more about that.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, but man, Jocko's been on several times. Goggins is another great one.
So I was just texting him.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I told him we were talking.
Yeah, I know you guys are friends. I actually got to sit down with him face to face in Las Vegas, and him, of course, better than most people. But man, just his presence was powerful. It was awesome to be able to have that conversation with him. Then other guys like John Eldridge. Do you guys know who John Eldridge is?
What's he do?
He's he's the author of a book called Wild at Heart, which is it's more Christian based. It's such an incredible perspective and look into masculinity, and that book actually got me on the right track to figure some things out about myself.
Wild at Heart.
I was fortunate to have him on. Wild at Heart, yeah, he's an absolutely incredible author, and he's got a lot of good things to share. Man, I could go on. Tim Kennedy. I mean, Andy Frisilla. Shoot, we've had so many incredible guys on.
I tell you what, man, it's brilliant the way you did it when you were talking about you had the podcast about money, about making money. And then you kind of get tired of doing that, and you shifted it to man, all right, tell me about the guy who makes the money. Because I talk to a lot of guys, man,
Right.
they're like, hey, there's no job description for snipers out in the civilian world. I'm like, no, not that job description, that job title, there's not, but everything that goes into making a sniper, there is. I mean, discipline, pace, all that stuff. And shifting that back around to like what you were saying, I mean, trying to figure out the order of man, how you got to where you were at. And not only that, you're remembering it because that's what you were going after. And when we get to this point now, we turn around, we go back and give it everything that we learned back to the youth. That's how you do that. When they say toxic masculinity, that's the guys who hadn't been taught anything. They don't have any discipline.
Right.
And when it comes to the wife, you blame it. That's easy to do. It's like joining the military, but yelling at the officers and the sergeants for telling you to do something. Like when we get married,
Right.
that's over. Like, hey, and you nailed it. It's like, man, I was trying to change her. You can't change a woman. We switch. That's the beautiful thing about being what we are. Like we adapt. I'll turn into anything you want. I spent my whole life training for this. So kind of like the way we look at it, like, man, I had to go through everything I had to go through just to get the qualifications to marry that.
Well, and it's funny because here's the trap. When you start thinking about changing other people, whether it's the officer or your wife or your boss or whoever, right, is they actually might have things they need to work on. And so that's what you focus on. But there's nothing you can change about that. Even if they do, and they probably do have just as much, if not more, to work on than you. But if you focus on it, it's futile. Like there's not, like you said, there's nothing you can do about another person. But what's cool about it is that when you change, like when you decide to change the way you show up or present yourself or learn some new skill set or capability and you build influence and credibility, is people voluntarily change because they see you changing, right? So they change the way they respond to you because you're a different person. And we all influence people positively or negatively. Like every conversation, this conversation, you guys are influencing me, I'm influencing you. People who are listening are being influenced for the better or worse. You can't escape it. So you might as well make it a positive influence by focusing on yourself.
Man, it definitely doesn't happen when we talk about, especially with another human being and changing. It's not as easy as changing your clothes. Like, like the color, somebody to change a shirt. Like, man, you got to grow into that. Like you get that one thing, you get issue, you get too early. Well, man, it may look funny, it doesn't fit right and kind of whatever. But as you grow into it, in and out of it, actually, it's not a change, it's growing together.
This is the Team Never Quit podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.